everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm showing you how to infill BIAB, also known as Builder in a Bottle. These are the nails that have been filled in. I took a picture in the daylight so you can specifically see there's no demarcation line where the infill starts and the old gel finishes. This is around 3 weeks growth and we need to take down the bulk. So you have two options. You can either use an e-file, which is my preference, but I know not all of you are trained in using an e-file. If your nails are quite thin like mine, you can get away with just using the 100 and 180 grit. One side is a lot coarser and you can just buff away until it's as thin as you need. If your nails are quite thick, you might want to go in with a 240 grit. That will buff away at the bulk a lot quicker. Just be careful not to touch your natural nail with that one. As I said, I like to make my builder as thin as possible because I really like nice thin natural nails. If you haven't seen my previous tutorial on the application of builder gel, I will link it on screen for you now. I also have one on how to create baby boomers, also known as ombre nails or a soft French. Those will be linked up on the top screen for you. Okay, so when you are buffing down your builder, you want to get the free edge, which is the very edge of your nail, as thin as possible. Otherwise, the application of gel on top is just going to make this thicker. So in order to keep this as thin as possible, you want to buff downwards in this motion to really take down that gel so that this free edge is nice and thin. You also want to make sure that your side walls are buffed away so they're nice and thin as well, but you want to keep the apex, which is this section here, as full as possible. This is where the main structure of the nail comes from. So if you don't have a lot of patience, you can just leave it like that. However, I like to buff away so there's only a very small amount of gel left in place. I still want it to be an infill. I don't want to completely remove everything, but I like my side walls and my free edge to be quite thin, so the bulk of the remaining gel is in the apex. Many of the nail technicians on social media now like to do a dry nail prep. On myself, my preference is still to use the CND Cuticle Away. I really feel like it's so effective and I have the time to sit and let it do its thing. The key with this really is to allow it to almost completely dry on your nails. And I'm talking about letting it sit for, 10 or 15 minutes. Don't just go straight in with your cuticle pusher because it's not going to do anything. It doesn't have time to soften. You will see how much comes off of my nails with barely any push in just by allowing it to soak. So I've used the back of my cuticle pusher to push this between the side walls and all around the cuticle area. Then I'm just going to use this little tool. I've had this so many years, I should really get it sharpened, but it is still super sharp. You can see the edge is really flat, which makes it marvellous for getting up all of that dead skin. So it's been sat there for a good 15 minutes. I'm just going to wipe off the excess and then you'll start to see with just a little effort how much comes off of the cuticle area, which means you really don't have to do too much scraping. It's not uncomfortable, it just comes away with ease. You'll want to make sure that you're rotating your tool to get into those side walls and keep it extremely flat to the nail plate. You don't want to be going at an angle which digs into the nail plate. You only want to be scraping along the surface. I always find that I get more cuticle come away on these fingers rather than my thumb. The cuticle almost gets stretched across the nail as it grows. It's just like dead skin cells in a sense, so it doesn't hurt to take this away. It is important to remove because this will prevent your gel securing in place. If you don't remove the dead cuticle, then you will get lifting from your gel polish. The area that you see a lot of people on social media cutting away is the proximal nail fold, which is where your eponychium sits. Mine is not prominent at all, so I never cut it, but you really shouldn't cut it because it really does stop bacteria forming in this area. I like to apply the Gelish pH Bonder, which is a dehydrator, because we've had lots of fluid on the nails. After I've washed away what's remaining of the CND Cuticle Away, I like to apply this just to re-dehydrate the nail bed. That way it's ready for gel application. I'm trying out a new brand. I don't want to mention them yet because I've not actually seen how well the product lasts yet, but I usually opt for the gel bottle, which is my favourite. I wanted something super natural, and as you can see, this almost goes on completely clear, but once you build it up, it will become a bit more opaque, still very natural, but it will disguise the demarcation marks of the old polish. So I like to start off with my first layer nice and thin. I like to go in with a small detailer brush to make sure it's all down the side walls, it's nice and neat, and all the little crevices are covered. I do every nail first in this one coat before I cure it, because from there onwards you're going to be semi-curing one nail at a time, because this kind of builder gel can be quite soft, and in this heat that we're having at the moment it will run very quickly, so it's important to kind of semi-cure each nail as you go. But for this very first layer I do all the nails in one go. I then give that a full cure. Now obviously this is not going to smooth out your uneven surface from the old polish at this stage. This is just our base layer. So we're going to go in with a second layer. This is very thin. This is what I like to describe as the slip layer. This is going to be a kind of blueprint for where the next gel bead goes. It will fall to wherever you've applied that first layer. So make sure this is everywhere that you need it to be, right up to the cuticle, all the way around the side walls. I don't tend to cap the free edge, but I do take it to the free edge. I find with Builder Gel, I've never needed to cap it. So this is the size of bead that we're going to be using to begin with. I place it just in front of the area that needs filling as such, and then I like to push it back slightly with the bristles, and then I like to work it ever so slightly side to side, really gently, just coating the area, because again I want this to be quite thin so that when it grows out it doesn't look bulky. And then using a motion of going from left to right, you want to coax that gel down the length of the nail. Your thumb is the widest nail, so this one isn't quite as fluid to do as the rest of the nails. It's still quite simple, but I do find you sometimes need an extra bead. The left and right is much easier and quicker on your smaller nails. So once I've laid the initial bead down, I'm going in with the small detailer brush to make sure it's all around the side walls before turning it over to allow that gel to form that apex. I also go in with my brush to run a line down the center. I can then manipulate the gel where I want it to go. I want the apex in the center, but I don't want the thickness to form towards the back of the nail, so I pull it towards the center. I then cure that for 40 seconds, just enough to set it in place, but it enables me to move on with the other nails without having to wait for a full cure, because it will get cured as each nail goes in, and then I'll do a full cure at the very end on all the nails. So again, apply your slip layer, go in with your detailer brush to make sure that it's all down the side walls. Apply a smaller bead towards the back third of the nail, pushing it towards the cuticle, and then dragging it from left to right down the length of the nail to meet the free edge. Remember, the key is to allow your brush to float on top of the gel. If you drag it in terms of pulling it, then you are going to just move all that gel towards the center of the nail. You want to almost allow it to float on top, so you're only pulling the very surface, and then that way you're leaving some gel behind. Once you've got to the free edge, turn your nail over and allow that gel to pull to the center. Then you can go in with your brush and always start from the back of your nail towards the center, and that will make sure that the bulk of that gel is not laying down towards the cuticle. You can tilt the nail backwards and forwards to allow the gel to fall where you want it to. I just find this to be a lot quicker. Again, give that a 40-second cure, and as you can see, it looks beautiful. And then we're going to move on to the third nail. I'm going to play some music in this section for you because it's the same process, so you can just watch it, and then I will come back when I've got something new to tell you. If you find it drags away from your cuticle area, feel free just to pull it back in place. This is very malleable, and while it's still wet, you've got lots of working time. Just make sure that you move quickly and always turn it over so it doesn't form a little pool in your side walls. Once you've done all 5 nails, give them a full 2-minute cure, and then you're ready to go in with your Extreme Shine top coat. My favourite is by the gel bottle. This is one of the only ones that I've found that still stay completely shiny by the time I'm ready for an infill. There's not much to say on this apart from make sure that you completely coat your nails. You can cap the free edge with the Extreme Shine top coat, you don't have to, but I find, as I say, with Builder Gel, it doesn't pull away from the free edge. I always make sure before it goes into the lamp, while it's still wet, I use that small detailer brush at the last moment to pull the gel just along that free edge so it's definitely at the very edge. but I never bothered to cap it because I've never ever to this day had lifting at the free edge while using builder gel. It just doesn't move for me. Then just give that a full 2-minute cure and you are done. There's no need to wipe over this. It is good to go straight from the lamp. So here's a quick before and after shot. It's a very quick process, so this is both hands done. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below and I'll do my best to get back to you. Don't forget to follow me outside of YouTube over on Instagram. Please subscribe if you are new to my channel. My name is Shonagh Scott and I will see you next week. Bye guys.